Welcome to Window Shop with Car and Driver. This is our 27th episode. This week, we decided to look at the EV bargains that are on the market. Now that EVs are becoming secondhand cars, the values have dropped precipitously. And actually, one of our panelists today actually just bought a Nissan Leaf based on that. So we set a budget of $10,000 and we started looking on the internet. And this week, we're joined by Ezra Dyer from, you're in North Carolina, right, Ezra?
I am.
And Brad Fick, who's our video guy usually. He's usually editing these videos, and he often has picked some bizarre cars. And Jonathan Ramsey, who's down in, you're just in Kentucky, right?
I'm just in Kentucky, yes.
Just out of Ohio and just into Kentucky, right? And Joey Caparella. So Jonathan, you want to take it away?
So I figured there's a billion Leafs and other such nonsense around. Why not go in style and get, oh, can you see that?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
We sure can.
I'll be with you in just a moment, Joey. First, let me explain the awesomeness. So this guy had, and actually there are better pictures. Oh, that's the wrong guy. This guy had he bought this thing for $450 that's not the car, he bought the thing for $450 and he decided he wanted an electric car, and so he
You did it the hard way.
I did.
There we go.
Because the pictures weren't big enough. There we go. Let's see, I think 35 batteries in the trunk, 17 under the hood.
What kind of batteries are they?
Life Pro lithium, you buy them on.
They're just AAAs.
Yeah, but there's so many of them. I just wonder.
Well, and for all that, he could get 50 miles of range. But so that's what the car looked like before.
I wonder what it weighs.
Oh, okay.
You wonder what?
I wonder what it weighs.
He said it weighs about, because the lithium batteries were less than the original powertrain, it's about the same as the.
Is it still a manual?
Yeah, 5-speed manual.
That's so cool.
What's the
Yeah,
motor?
he has the motor hooked up to the gearbox in that one photo. It's clean.
It is. Plugs into 110 volt.
Was there a kit? Did he use a kit, or did he just figure this out all himself?
He figured it out all himself. I mean, he's in Washington. I'm going to guess he's some sort of engineer. I think he got, 17.2 kilowatt for the battery.
Pretty small.
Pretty big.
No. We said the opposite.
So 17 kilowatts should get you at least, 20 miles, 25 miles of range?
50,
maybe 30.
50. Yeah. I mean, it's not, the car's 9. It's not that heavy.
The first Volt was like 16 kilowatts, and that did 30 or 35 miles.
No kidding. Okay.
Around 40.
But clean. It's got those awesome rims on it.
Yeah, go back to the ad. The ad, I think the pictures showed the rims.
Why is he selling it?
Rally car rims.
Yeah,
Because he
Why is he selling
did a conversion 12 years ago, and now he said, I guess he's just got other things going on.
Yeah, can't wait to see the next project EV he turns out.
Those wheels are beautiful on there. Just as a cabriolet, it looks great on its own.
Exactly.
It does. Good looking car.
Exactly. And you've got, convertible EVs. How many of them are there now? Are there any?
I can't think of any. Maybe a Tesla Roadster.
Older Tesla Roadster, yeah. I'm trying to
really a convertible. It's more
that's a Targa. You can do that in this car.
There you go. That could be anybody.
It looks like the weight of the batteries. Go back to that picture. The weight of the batteries is pushing the rear end down.
Yeah.
Lifting the front end
Those
down.
kids are pretty heavy.
I was gonna say it's the kids.
Exactly. I don't think VW tested it with 35 lithium. Well, and actually, he had different batteries in, so they were probably heavier in the
Oh,
beginning.
okay. But there was a fire, and then that necessitated the paint. Car got repainted after it caught fire.
Yeah, the new paint's good. I'm down with
I like
That
the
looks good.
conspicuously empty gas cap.
it.
Well, but now you have
my
that.
gas cap.
Now you have a waterproof 110 volt outlet plug. The question is how long does it take to charge on 110 volts, which
Days.
Forever.
10 hours, 8 hours if it was fully discharged. I think
And
that's
what
about
are
what that's about what a volt did, right? I think a volt was like 8 hours if it was fully discharged.
But that's not on a 110, is it?
Yeah, on a 110.
oh, well,
I
that would
would
be
guess longer.
if it's true. Yeah, that. But he's
It's
saying
probably a good thing that he doesn't have any sort of 220 or 240 hookup in there. I feel like at some point people have to just chill out on their homemade electronics and just let them be low voltage.
Yeah.
Right. I don't think it has a
okay.
cooling system like a modern EV with lithium-ion batteries. Yeah.
Mm-mm.
Well, not only does it not have cooling, it has no heat, no AC. I mean, it's missing quite a few things.
The
but-
heat and AC is the air around you. That's why you put the top down.
Oh my,
Says
exactly.
the guy who hates convertibles.
I do hate
I mean, Joe, I got Joey on board. I think this is a first, so I'll take
I'm
it.
on board. I like this thing.
It's not an
Hey, he
AMC.
says the motor is liquid cooled. That's in the stats. The what do we got here? We got a net gain impulse 9. Good choice.
I mean, it sounds like a Star Trek ship, but I'll trust you.
That's like saying 2JZ or something. It's like some people must know those code names.
All right. Well, good luck driving that.
How much is it? He wants 10 grand, right? You're right at the budget.
OBO.
OBO, those three
Yeah.
famous letters that could really mean anything.
That's $2,000 off right there.
I wonder how far it'll go at 90 miles an hour with a full charge.
Let's try it out.
I'm gonna say less than 50, more than 1 is my guess. But that's as far as I would bet. Let's see. So yeah.
All right. Thank you, Jonathan. All right. Joey, let's see what you've brought to the party today.
So you may have forgotten this automaker called Coda popped up in 2012, I think, and marketed this all-electric sedan called the Dakota EV. It was based on a Chinese car, which itself was based on an old Mitsubishi. So there's some pedigree there. And it was a total failure because basically it was $40,000 or 38 or
Right.
something.
Wow.
And it looks like, an economy car, like
Right.
from the 90s.
It looks like a Chinese version of an old Mitsubishi.
Exactly. Which is exactly what it is. But this one, there's kind of a big caveat because it doesn't have a battery. So,
And they
Guys,
still want
okay.
that much money?
yeah,
I see it says glider.
it's a glider. So, it doesn't really, there's not much there.
Push it
But
out.
the way I see it, that leaves you, however, $2,500 in the budget to get any battery you'd like.
Oh, but
And
it's a
really,
brand
you
new car. Joey, it's brand new, right?
Yeah,
It
yeah,
only has
that's why
5
it's so
miles.
much. It has 5 miles on the odometer. It's
Okay.
basically was never driven, brand new. It's just, I think when the company went under, so I found this sad article. Coda declares bankruptcy. This was in 2013. And what they did was the cars that they didn't sell, they ripped the batteries out of them. So I don't know how this person acquired one because there were only 100 sold and all in California. This person's in Vermont and somehow got one.
He,
But it's a
he
glider. It's
glided all the way to Vermont.
That would take a while.
I think that car sounds like a mule for something. That was,
You've got to be able to do something cool with this. The possibilities are endless.
Well, what did Coda do with the batteries, I wonder?
That's a good question.
It was probably the only valuable part of the car, so they probably
Yeah.
to creditors.
that the raw mineral itself was.
Yeah.
This is one car that cannot claim that it ran when parked.
and the
I think
guy,
it's cool.
The Coda guy, that's Kevin. Well, one of them, Kevin Zinger, does the tandem 1200 horsepower hybrid Zinger hydrogen hypercar.
Oh,
Like
wow.
the
If
3
you
liter,
say so.
Mitsubishi.
I've never heard of it.
You never heard of it?
No.
It just debuted like 6 months ago. He's
Oh,
in
it's
California.
recent.
Yeah.
Hold on, that
So he's
photo shows
pre-emerged.
it powered up. So
Yeah, I
that
think
means
it powers up, but it just can't drive or something.
Well, it's
Probably
only
an
got-
auxiliary battery or
Yeah,
something.
it's
Yeah, it
got
probably
the
has a-
12-volt battery, so you're partway there.
I mean, really, you could get, if you wanted to make this the most boring transportation, that room in your budget, you have the ability to buy an old salvage battery pack from a Nissan Leaf or something. It would be
Yeah,
really
you
easy.
Plug it in.
Hmm.
Yeah, but where is it going to go? I mean, I would imagine the battery pack for this car was designed for this car.
Yeah, it would
Sure,
take
It's
something.
a challenge.
It's a challenge.
Get a roof rack.
Yeah, this person's saying you could construct and install your own battery.
What could be easier?
A lot of things.
But I just think
Anything's
it's cool because it's
possible.
literally brand new. I mean, it's like has the seat covers on it still.
Leave it to Joey to find the most inconspicuous ride.
Yeah, it doesn't look like anything, does it? But it's got to
great.
be like one of the most rare cars we've ever discussed on this show. Like 100.
It's rare. It also doesn't run.
It was
why-
never supposed to run.
Why is it jacked up?
It's not
like
fair.
I think it's jacked
Doesn't
up
have a
because there's no
battery.
battery weighing it down.
Uh,
Because the battery's got to weigh a lot.
Oh yeah,
So it's like an SUS version.
glider, SUS glider.
SUS glider. What more could you want?
You could
Alright.
hook up a horse
I
or
also
a
don't know
donkey
why
to
it doesn't
ride.
have the infotainment or stereo thing isn't there for some reason.
Yes,
Look at
making
that-
Amish transport is probably not the answer, Brad.
Yes, yes.
Is that a rotary transmission dial?
Yeah, I know. It was ahead of the curve.
Wow.
No,
Straight out
next,
the rain.
enough. I don't want to see.
You
this
don't want to
anymore.
see it anymore?
No,
I'm
I'm
fascinated by this one. Just the whole, like, also it's on this island in Vermont. Like, I just want to know the story behind it.
That car sounds more and more like a trap. What you talking about is what that's one of those. Joey died looking at a coda on an island just off the coast of Vermont.
Worth it for the story.
It's what. Yeah.
It's on Fantasy Island. All right, then stop sharing.
Sorry for putting you through that.
All right, Ezra. Let's see what Ezra has brought us. Ezra, can you do better than a coda?
Well, let's see. Speaking of things that are rare, how about the Cadillac ELR? Let's all remember the Cadillac ELR for a moment. It was essentially
do.
a $75,000 Chevy Volt, and as such, they sold about 5 of them, all of which seem to be for sale right now. And then as now, too expensive. This one comes closest to our target. I figured we're going to negotiate on this. We're going to get it down to where we need it to be. Got a lot of miles, but the ELR has always appealed to me, price aside, because I think it looks cool. Like, it's a cool looking car.
Ezra,
What?
it's not an electric car, it's a hybrid.
It has a gas engine.
But
You can break
it
too.
is, for all intents and purposes, if you have, 80% of people have a commute that's blah, 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 and that therefore, it's going to be in EV mode.
Yeah,
I know,
but then if you're driving it as an EV, you're just lugging around a heavy gas
I
engine
know
for no
all the
reason.
stats. Yeah, well, it's an electric car with a range extender, same as a BMW i3 or what have you.
I've never heard Ezra sound more like a dealer salesman in my life.
I'm not going to let you leave here without a Cadillac ELR. This is what you need in your life.
Practically electric.
I
This thing,
think
you're
I-
going to put gas
any-
in this thing but once a year, if that. That's just
any
incredible.
prospective Volt purchaser should seriously consider an ELR first,
Because
because
it's
if
cooler than
you're
a
if you're
Volt.
gonna buy one of those, just look at this. This is way cooler.
Look at that carbon fiber, my friend.
Yeah.
It's much cooler, but it's less practical too. It doesn't have a back.
Yeah,
The
it's
back
small.
seat isn't as large. It doesn't have rear doors.
Yeah, well, you
Just-
pay for style, my friend.
Yeah,
And
adopt a minimalistic lifestyle, and
look at
I
that.
have
ELR makes
my ELR. I have an ELR memory. I had one as a press loan, and my dog was dying, and I took my dying dog to the vet to be put down in an ELR.
Wow.
Well, I'm
What a
sorry.
terrible association.
I'm sorry that that's your connotation of the ELR. but
Sorry, Tony. You'll never look at the ELR the same.
Most
But I
people's
think-
I'll
memories
always
of
remember it.
But I
most
think
people's memories of it just pertain to a crushing car payment for something that's a Chevy Volt. But it's a concept car Chevy Volt, and I applaud them
It
for
is.
building it.
I mean, really, this is kind of the ultimate expression of that era of Cadillac design, like the art and science. It's like the pinnacle of what they were trying for. And
And I
It's
still
so
think
hard
it
the science.
it still really well represents that time. I think it's still nice.
Come
Something
on,
about it.
that's a Battlestar Galactica version of a Cadillac.
And if you want to
Do that
nitpick
as a
about it
compliment or as an insult?
if you want to nitpick about it being a hybrid, it is at least an electric. It's basically an electric car architecture with hauling around a gas engine as well. But it's an EV.
But remember, there was that whole thing where like they were trying to say the gas engine never powers the wheels, but then in some circumstances it actually did.
Yeah,
Right.
and who
The
gives a
electric
crap?
motor
Like that
exclusively.
was I was supposed to be scandalized that under certain circumstances it's direct drive on highway speeds. Like who cares? But yeah,
You have, Ezra, a couple of things beside it not being an electric car. Is it has 130,000 miles and it's way over budget.
well, that's why it's going to get down into our range once we go to the what dealer is this? I don't know. Once we go to Riverside, California, we're going to talk to these folks. We're going to say, look, it's got 129,000 miles. This battery's probably toast. I'm probably going to need to find a Coda battery to put in this thing just to keep it running. And
I bet
I'll give you 10 grand, and there you
I
go.
bet if you looked up the Volt forums, how many people would laugh at that mileage? I think that mileage is still fine for a Volt alone. So
Yeah.
Well, fair
you
enough.
could-
I'm not saying it's going to have problems. It's just he's got a lot of miles on this and he's over budget.
Yeah,
Well,
my
look at-
car only had 5 miles.
Look at it this way. Look at it this way. It's got 130,000 miles, but it's got 2 motors. That's only like 70,000 per motor.
Per motor.
You also
Yeah,
have
that's-
4 more, Ezra. You also have 4 more years. You have 4 more years of battery warranty. They're warranted for 10 years.
That's great.
Wow.
Thank you for pointing that out.
I would imagine most people probably bought these just for the carpool sticker, right?
Yeah.
In California.
Carpool lane in California.
I don't think anybody bought these, Joey. They had like 15 or 20 grand off when they were new.
They were seriously
people
sold
who
in the
did it.
hundreds. I'm pretty sure the final number was under 1,000 on these.
Wow, that's crazy.
So it's no co. You don't not going to see yourself coming and going in this. All right. All right.
So there's a pretty good chance that the car that I drove my dog to the vet in is still out there driving.
It could be that one.
Haunted.
All right. Thanks, Ezra, for your not electric car.
You're welcome.
Okay, Brad, you're
All
up
right.
next. Brad, you just bought a secondhand electric car, right?
I did. I just bought a Nissan Leaf 2017.
Oh, it's a 2017.
I wanted to get the best of that generation, the last of the first gen, and it striked a really good balance between affordable. The battery pack was still new, and only
they
had
put a bigger
17,000
battery
miles
in.
on it.
They put a bigger
What's that?
battery in later on, so.
Yeah, it's got the 30 kilowatt, which on a full charge is still pretty good. Keep it all in town. I actually
Which is
just made it back.
What's the range? Like 80 miles?
Like 100.
Probably if you're on the highway, I just drove back to Ann Arbor and back, and I could have made it off of one charge from Detroit. So that was, that's 100 miles right there.
Oh, okay.
And I'm driving
What?
slower than everybody else on the highway, though. I'm probably
Well, yeah,
the worst
no air
person.
conditioning, definitely no heat.
No. Wear a
What
jacket.
percentage of your life is now spent charging it and looking for
Oh,
places?
I knew you were going to ask this question. It makes me feel. And, right now it's probably, I just got a charger that I could set up at home, so it's less now. But in the beginning, it was probably a good 10% of my day was spent at a charger, and I don't want to go into that. But yeah, it was.
Those days are over. Those days are over.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
All right, Brad.
Okay.
So did you find a Leaf that would fit our budget?
No, so I decided instead, kind of. Actually, I kind of did. So this is a Ford Ranger, and they made these as a factory electric at one point. But this one has been, the battery's been replaced with a Nissan Leaf battery. It doesn't go into detail about that I noticed, but I'm guessing it's the older 24 kilowatt hour battery. It does show that it can take a 220 adapter. It's got, I don't remember if this was factory or not, that they
The factory one had one of those like induction paddle chargers. It was really
oh, okay.
for some
Oh,
reason I was
like
looking
the
into
like the EV1 had.
yeah, it was like that big
Because
floppy.
this is from 2000, isn't it?
Yeah.
hmm
Yeah.
That's a
And-
cool
Oh man,
range
go back to
gauge.
that gauge. I love that analog range gauge.
Oh, this
Yeah.
is really cool, and I hope that one day this idea doesn't go away, because I know that digital stuff is cool, but this is so sweet.
Yeah.
That's just and it's cool that it's had some update. hmm
Go back to the gauges on the right side. What is that on off thing?
Maybe car.
That's probably just to let you know that it's running. So
Maybe
that-
because
Yeah.
it's so quiet. Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
silent. That's fine.
And so I've actually I've seen one of these before, and my dad had a friend that had one, and he had said his was from Dearborn, and it was sort of decommissioned, and he couldn't get a title for it. But I've seen one of these, and I remember when I was younger thinking it was the coolest thing, and I couldn't believe it. This one here is kind of it's still in great shape.
Where do they house the batteries? Do they just sit between the frame?
That's a really good question. I'm not sure. I
would-
wish that I could see in
I don't
that in
think
the bed.
I don't think the
Well-
bed was smaller, so it must be sort of
A
sandwiched.
lot of the electric trucks I've seen, they house them under the bed, and the bed is hinged at the rear, at the bumper. Yeah, and you lift it up to get.
Yeah, I saw because I found another ad for a Ranger EV, and I saw a picture where it had the bed raised.
Yeah. But it says 30 to 45 miles, depending on temperature
Yeah.
in the
Yeah.
summer.
So my guess. Okay, so look. So it says the car was originally bought in Arizona. Any sort of lithium batteries that are, I don't know if that's where their batteries are coming from, or if this Ranger came from there. But if the batteries came from there, they're always going to be just drained. I mean, if you spent maybe $1,000 on an old Leaf battery from California or Arizona, it's going to have next to no life left on it, just from the
There
heat.
was I think there
Well,
was
that's
like
what this
class-
has.
Yeah.
it's a Leaf battery. I think there was a class action lawsuit or something against Nissan where the owners in Arizona were complaining that their batteries were just toast after a few years, and then
Yeah.
Nissan like gave them new battery packs or something. I might
But
be-
those
Yeah, well, that-
those ended up eating it too. That's why the Leaf that I ordered directly from Colorado, because I wanted nothing to do with West Coast Leaf.
Well, the Leaf
I had to-
battery doesn't have any sort of climate control to
Yeah.
it. It doesn't have any cooling or heating system.
Right. Which in
At least
Michigan's
in
great,
Arizona.
Where we're at, it's fine. But out
But I mean,
west,
if this gets 30 to 45 miles, wait, where is this guy? What part of the country is he in?
in Oregon.
yeah, Eugene.
Oregon.
Oh, yeah, there might be. Yeah, it's Oregon.
How much you think you're going to get in Michigan? Like you have like 20 reliable miles.
Well, the way that I see it, if they've already got it hooked up for a Leaf battery, yeah, so maybe you'll spend more. But even the 30 kilowatt batteries are coming down in price. So maybe if you save a little bit, you can drive this around town or something, and then maybe in about 5 years or so, you can put a 30 kilowatt, say,
You
in
can
it.
drive
And
around town if you live in town.
if you live in town,
This is a really
Yeah.
optimistic spin on this car.
listen, Joey, once you become a Leaf owner in general, you become a more optimistic person, because if not, you're going to cry on every commute about the things you can't do.
I like that outlook on the world.
Yeah. You don't have a
It's
choice
changed you,
anymore.
Brad. This will continue to change you and challenge you in new and different ways.
Just
Great.
put another battery in the bed.
Yeah.
You don't
Yeah.
need a bed. You could just put bigger and bigger batteries on it the longer you own it.
I think it's cool. If you literally were in like a downtown neighborhood and you just, I don't know, you needed a pickup but you never leave and you never go anywhere, this would be really sweet.
If you never go anywhere, this is the car for you.
Some people don't go anywhere.
or you
If
got
you
a
never
12,000
have to drive
mile
anything, this is perfect.
Says the guy whose car had no battery.
Touche.
This is
All
still
right.
this is the coolest thing.
The gauges are cool. The rest of it's not that cool. All right. Let's see. I'm up next. I have what appears to be a smart limo, but actually is the Mitsubishi i-MiEV.
Smart limo.
Ugh.
Wow, I'll never be able to see it the same way.
Oh my
It's a
goodness.
smart limo, right? These are, I went on the press launch of this, and the PR guy at the time was like, yeah, I'm really sorry. It's not that.
It's a golf cart.
He was uncommonly honest.
But the US versions were actually, compared to the car that this was based on in Japan, the US version was actually quite different to pass crash regulations, and it was also wider. They widened it.
It was bigger in a lot of dimensions.
How
Yeah,
much
it was
is
bigger. How much is it?
Yeah.
Oh, so cheap.
Instead of five,
$4
five
grand.
grains.
Wow.
$4
Honestly,
grand,
this is the best value.
44,000 miles, Ezra.
Hey, are you sharing? I can't see it.
I see
So
it.
you can't see?
Oh,
I see
Can
it.
you see the photos? I'm
Oh,
going
yeah.
through the photos.
Jonathan has disappeared from the screen.
Maybe that's why.
Oh, Jonathan,
So-
you're frozen.
So I've always wanted to take one of these things and take the doors off and jack it up a little bit and put knobby tires on it and like a light bar, like the Safari thing before Safarian was cool, and make it like a modern day electric Baja Bug, because it's
Yes.
rear wheel drive. It's kind of like a stacked golf cart, really. So why not make it look that way and just have fun with it around town?
The
This-
possibilities are endless. And it's
this gets
rear-wheel drive, like you said.
This
Yeah.
this could be a gambler car. This is a good, if you've got the patience for it and the willingness, you could do anything with that.
So you can see where they widened it. Like the instrument panel from here to here is the original instrument panel. And then they've added these sections because the American version is wider. So it has
Ah.
these extra width sections on each side.
Hmm.
Things you learn on the press launch.
Now I know.
Our
And I
former,
The infotainment screen is big, or if it's just proportional to the tiny interior, it looks big.
these are kind of spacious inside because the roof is really high.
Yeah.
And I can tell you that the traction control is fully defeatable because I tore up my driveway with one, just sliding it around, goofing off. And I actually slid out into the cul-de-sac and left a little rubber. Probably the only time anyone's done something that could count as a burnout in an i-MiEV.
We certainly
fun.
tried on the press launch, but we didn't put any bleach down or anything.
Transmission fluid. Air conditioning, Navi, $4 grand. I mean,
Well equipped.
can't hate
It
on
doesn't
that.
have a lot of range. These have pretty terrible range. Like if you run the air conditioning, it just decimates the range. I took
You know,
somebody to LAX. I took somebody to LAX once running the air conditioning, and on the way back, I was really freaked out. I wasn't going to be able to make it home, and I'm only like 17 miles from LAX.
I feel like I've read before that the overseas or the non-American spec of this vehicle, they had something like a B mode that you could shift into that we didn't end up getting. And like there is B mode, but there was something beyond that that added more regen to the car.
Oh, like you could
and-
one pedal drive it in that mode.
Yeah, and the way to unlock that was to actually just file down the plastic on the shifter on the shifter on the floor, and then so you could move it back one extra.
Oh, like it
bump.
was still there. The capability
Yeah,
was
it's-
still there.
Yeah, but they just put a piece of like a small plastic that changed. Piece of plastic changed, and you weren't able to reach it. I have to fact check myself, but I'm pretty sure that was a weird thing that happened when they brought this car over.
Yeah, it's a 4-seater. I mean, it could potentially seat 5, but because of GVWR, they don't want it to seat 5, so they put
Yeah,
this
if
pad.
you
here
put
so
5
can't
people in
sit
it, it'd go like 5 miles.
there.
Yeah,
so
that,
yeah,
that regen hack that'll take it up to like 61 miles of range.
If I got one of these, I would rebadge it as either the Peugeot or the Citroën versions, because that's what they
Oh,
sold
that's
back in the
right.
day.
That's right.
And they looked,
God.
I mean, they weren't that different, but I thought they looked cooler.
Then you
I've
get all
always
sorts of
wondered.
positive attention.
I've always wondered why car makers license and build Mitsubishi stuff. Mitsubishi can't make Mitsubishi stuff good. What hope does Peugeot have of making a Mitsubishi thing good?
But this is probably the most reliable Mitsubishi in decades.
Oh,
This
God.
thing
I
will
don't know.
run.
They're pretty
I'll-
reliable.
Most of them are reliable. That's not
Yeah.
the issue.
I'll have you know I had an Outlander for 60,000 miles with not one problem. Just have to stick up for me.
Yeah, and then after 60,000, you were tired of it, right?
Yeah.
In theory, EVs should not need anything close to what a gasoline engine would take to stay running. So I bet you, even if it only has 50 miles on it, that EV will still be running in 30 years.
The entire powertrain is basically one moving part, right?
Well, I
Right,
think
right.
our former coworker did have he bought one of these IMEA secondhand for super cheap, Aaron Robinson. He has a purple one. And they replaced the battery under the 10-year warranty. So he has a brand new battery in it too, because he had some battery issue and they just replaced it. So.
Well, that
He
should
still-
offset all of his other vehicles.
What's that, Ezra?
That should offset all of his other vehicles, reliability-wise.
Well, that's why he bought it, because it's his wife's car, and her car would just sit. And he was like, "What bet? It doesn't hurt an electric car to sit." So. All right, now we've come to the part of the show where we judge each other's picks. So get ready to judge. Jonathan Ramsey, you brought us that Cabrio. Any last pleas?
I brought you style. That's what I brought you. So
I'll give it a thumbs up.
Yeah,
I thought it was cool.
don't act like it's charity to give you a thumbs up.
Manual with an EV.
Thank you, Ezra. I appreciate that.
I liked it. I mean, I wouldn't like one of those. Here's the test. I wouldn't like that car if it were gas, but I like it like that.
Why wouldn't you like it gas?
It's just doesn't.
Okay.
He used to own a Camaro. That's why.
Yeah.
Okay.
Jonathan, what was your favorite car of the bunch?
Oh, I'm going to go with no battery Coda on a Vermont island. Just because it's, like I said, a trap, and I want to find out what it's about. Yeah.
What happens on that island? It's like
Exactly.
Shutter Island.
You got to bring a buddy to go pick that one up.
Exactly.
Those will both die.
All right. Who went next? Joey, you went next with the batteryless Coda, which arguably is not an electric car. It doesn't have a battery.
It has an electric motor, just nothing to power it. I probably deserve that.
Oh man,
I
Joey,
don't know
I'm
if I'd even give myself a thumbs up.
Joey, what
you
was
had-
your favorite? Of the cars that ran, what would you drive?
Honestly, the IMEA, because it's just such a good deal.
Yes, absolutely. All right. Ezra, your ELR.
I liked Brad's truck better. Maybe I'm an eternal optimist, but I think that thing is cool as hell just because it's like a sneaky sleeper. And from where it's at now, you could mod it. You could put in a bigger battery. Like it's got the basic architecture set up, complete with an analog range gauge. That's just
That was the coolest thing. I think that's the coolest thing I saw today. Was
Yeah, but is an analog range gauge worth $9,500?
No.
One day. One day.
Is it a sleeper when it says battery powered on the tailgate? Like I feel like that's.
That's not
Listen,
really...
it's so good. He still hasn't even talked about his ELR. That's that good.
Yeah, are we giving the ELR a thumbs up or a thumbs down?
Thumbs down.
thumbs
I
way
like
up.
it.
But it's not an electric car.
Right. So therefore, thumbs down. He failed.
We agree to disagree.
I tried
All
to
right,
say
Brad. Brad, you're a Ezra sure likes your Ranger for some reason.
Really, if you think about the Ranger too, the name is ironic because it doesn't have very much range.
Well,
No,
The D
And
Ranger.
there's that.
it's the Roamer. It's the Roamer.
I'm going to give
something.
you half. I like the gauge package.
I think, that's one of those cars, if you have to think about, you think about classic cars, right? I think if someone thought of a classic EV, they might look at that one and say, where are all those? Those were great.
No,
Those were so cool.
No one has ever had that thought, nor will they ever after you.
Sorry, 2 thumbs down.
Yeah.
Hey.
All right. And what did you like, Brad, of the non-pickups?
Joey is the Chinese Mitsubishi Adventure is so
Against
cool.
all odds, I'm winning so far.
He had me at pedigree. That's what sold me right there.
No.
It's good.
All right. My smart limo EV. What do you guys think?
I like that one.
Oh yeah.
Jonathan!
No one searches for an IMEV. No one.
It's so affordable. That's why they're so affordable.
Oh my God. And see, that's why do you want affordable when that's the price.
I
If
think
mobility comes at the price of driving the IMEV, why would you do that?
Fine.
I think more people will make. Listen, I made that compromise. I bought a Leaf. It's not like, the people that are looking for a cheap electric. I think they would just consider it. They'd be like, well,
Oh.
I'm still doing what I wanted to do.
You're
Maybe I
using
only
a
need.
golf cart, so it might as well be a golf cart.
Yeah, I mean,
It's more than a golf cart.
I actually shopped IMEVs and then literally bought a golf cart, a gem.
Exactly. That's
built
how
by the Chrysler
shopping works.
That's a whole nother story, but built by the Chrysler Corporation. So the IMEV, by comparison, it's all your frame of reference. By that frame of reference, it looks like a real substantial vehicle.
It is.
Compared to a golf cart.
I would say my favorite was the, God, they were all so terrible. I like the Cabrio.
The Cabrio.
I'm going to give it to you, Jonathan, even though you gave me a thumbs down.
It's nothing personal. It's never personal. But this was an off week for you. I don't know what happened. I expected more.
I think it's $4,000. All right. Well, that brings us to the end of the EV shopping episode.
I think we collectively failed.
Thanks for joining us, guys. And
don't take our advice on these EVs.
Except mine.
Hit subscribe or like, and we'll see you next week. Thanks, guys.
Bye.